Hello, and welcome to this edition of the Carl Jackson Show podcast, your daily dose of objective truth in a world of confusion and lies. We've got a lot to bring to you today. Trump descended on Iowa. DeSantis had his time in Iowa, but Trump upstaged him. We'll talk about that. Carrie Lake goes at some Washington Post and New York Times reporter, or at least camera people at Iowa. We'll talk about that, but those are small stories in comparison to what I want to get to. I really want to get to the Sham special counsel that has been set up for Hunter Biden. We will dive into that and see what that's about. Maui, the numbers sadly keep racking up. More people have died. The estimated death toll is now at 93. The U.S. sees its highest number of suicides in 2022. A really, really sad story. And also mobsters or looters raid a Los Angeles Nordstrom. I'm going to talk to you about the meaning behind that. All this and more of this edition of the Carl Jackson Show podcast. Please stay tuned for some quick program messaging, and we will be right back. Today's show is brought to you by the movie The Hill. Don't miss the most inspirational movie of the summer. Briarcliff Entertainment's The Hill, starring Dennis Quaid, in theaters beginning on Friday, August 25th. Make sure you check it out. This is a story, the true life story of professional baseball player Ricky Hill. Growing up poor in a small town, Texas, young Ricky discovers his extraordinary ability for hitting a baseball, but with leg braces and a degenerative spinal disease. The major leagues were just a dream that could never be. Courageously, he risked it all, defying his father's wish to follow in his footsteps to become a pastor. Ricky tries out for a major league scout, pushing hard to overcome his disability. He goes on to become a baseball phenomenon. All right, so some dreams are unbreakable. The Hill, starring Dennis Quaid, Colin Ford, and Scott Glenn, the true inspirational story about family, faith, and a baseball miracle. Don't miss The Hill, rated PG, in theaters Friday, August 25th. Get your tickets now. All right. Now, let's get down to the nitty gritty. First, I want to show you this video of Carrie Lake, and Carrie Lake is milking a cow, and she turns. Carrie Lake is very smart in this way. Donald Trump is the same way. Ron DeSantis he's got to get better at viral moments. He needs like a social media team. I don't know that he has one. If he does, they stink. He needs a much better one. A lot of people that used to, love Ron DeSantis and kind of create these memes and videos for him are major Trump supporters. So once he decided to run for president, what I've seen is a switch. Those people that they prefer Trump as president. So now they focus all of their media attention and their social media attention on Trump. And that's where DeSantis, in my opinion, needs a team, somebody that can teach him how to be more social media friendly, because Carrie Lake has got it. Donald Trump has obviously got it. The guy is a businessman. The guy was a marketing phenomenon, TV star. He understands using camera, social media, etc. Carrie Lake, also, remember, a news anchor in I believe it was Phoenix. She knows how to create moments. She does it here. I want to play this for you. Obviously, this was the Iowa State Fair over the weekend. All of the candidates in the GOP primary went to Iowa, shaking hands, kissing babies, doing all that kind of stuff. DeSantis was doing pretty good, but I'll share with you how Trump upstaged him. And I say this, I love DeSantis. I love Trump, but his team has got to get better at viral moments if he stands a chance. He also has to understand this, and this is what I don't know that any of the candidates understand. They're all essentially running for 2020, 2028, not necessarily Ron DeSantis. But what Ron DeSantis' camp, I'm not sure if they understand this, and I've shared this before, they're running against justice, the justice that people want for Trump. They're not running against Trump. So the issue isn't DeSantis. I'll be frank with you. When it comes to conservative causes, I'm actually starting to believe that DeSantis would take the conservative movement further than Trump could at this point. He's got 8 years. I've seen a lot of his, his stuff online, so on, etc. He and Trump want a lot of the same things. DeSantis is just more conservative on some issues, and the left will go after him just like they're going after Trump. I tend to believe that DeSantis is probably better at governing, based upon what I've seen in Florida, and so that's why I think he would probably govern better long term. However, I don't know that he'll get the chance to do it. And judging by the polls today, it doesn't look like he'll get the chance unless a lot of people start supporting him, because Trump just has the it factor, and he's already been there and done that. Unfortunately, Trump's last year in office just stunk because essentially he got duped by Fauci and Deborah Birx, and honestly, that upended his presidency. That allowed all of the ballot stuff, the going to state legislators just running the elections the way that they wanted to, using those lockdowns against people and all that kind of stuff. I mean, it invited a lot of stuff. So he made a huge mistake there. But everybody can recall his first 3 years and how much life was better. And then they see all of the Russia collusion hoax, the Ukraine hoax, Ukraine sham impeachment. And then they see the DOJ just going after Trump. And so DeSantis can't run a normal campaign. I don't know that anybody could weather a storm against Trump because, again, they're running against justice. But let me show you this clip. This is the clip of Kari Lake. And just like Kari Lake is known to do, I mean, I love this chick. I hope she does become the governor of Arizona or a senator in Arizona. I would prefer she runs for governor again in a couple of years and take out Katie Hobbs, metaphorically speaking. Of course, don't want the FBI knocking on my door like they did that 74-year-old man and shot and killed him. I don't know the ins and outs of that. But it didn't sound necessary. But anyway, I'm rambling on too long. Gabe, let's go ahead and roll the clip. This is Kari Lake. She is milking a cow. Here's what she has to say to a New York Times and Washington Post, I guess, photographer. I don't know if they're journalists as well, but here she is, Kari Lake.
Which one of you's from the New York Times? You know there's only two genders, right?
I just take pictures.
There's only two genders, and they know that in Iowa. I challenge the New York Times reporter and the Washington Post reporter to try to milk a cow and then try to milk a bull and see how that goes.
All right, so here's what I like. Even if they are just filming and taking pictures, I tend to think they'll take some notes as well, but I could be wrong. But Kari Lake knows how to create a moment. And in today's political world, in this digital age, it's important. She's got it. She understands it. I want to roll another video. There was one clip where DeSantis was walking through a crowd and the crowd started chanting, "We want Trump," or, stuff like that. Listen, you got to have thick skin in this race. And everybody knows, including DeSantis, that there's going to be a lot of people mad at him because he's running against Trump. And again, you have to be strong. You have to be courageous. If you can't handle, Trump supporters going at you, you're definitely not going to be able to handle being in front of Xi Jinping and so on, etc. So he knew what he was getting. He knew what he was getting into. I feel like he is probably the only one genuinely running to win. I look at the people that are trying to be tough, like Chris Christie, but Chris Christie has a clear objective. I don't know if he's getting paid by it or what, but it seems like all he's in to do is undermine the campaign. I have the sense that DeSantis is the only one that really wants to beat Trump in the primary. That's the sense that I get. Vivek, I love Vivek. I love his ideas. He has some of the best ideas. The problem is I've seen some video of him when it comes to Juneteenth, also when it comes to J6. Now saying, or at least J6 writing in his book, where he said something completely opposite a year before. So I'm not sure what to think about that. All right. So I'd rather have a Trump or a DeSantis in office because both of these guys have clear track records. And I think that's very important. You kind of know what you're getting. Yes, you know what you're getting in Trump. I don't get the people that say they don't know what they're getting in DeSantis. That, to me, that's just like, I'm a Trump supporter and I don't want to admit that DeSantis is good anymore now that he's entered into the primary. I really think that's all that is. But DeSantis walking through the crowd and Trump, Trump, Trump. And then, listen, I don't know if this was by coincidence, happenstance, or if this was perfect timing. But a plane, it occurred while DeSantis was walking through the crowd. I don't think it was when Governor Kim Reynolds was interviewing him, but Trump's plane, I think he was just addressing, it must have been. Trump's plane flies over the crowd and people's attention immediately turned to him. Given who Trump is, I don't know if he had some boots on the ground. Hey, is DeSantis speaking now? Plane, how do we time it when DeSantis is speaking? But you gotta give him credit. It's funny. I say that as a person. Again, I love Trump. I love DeSantis. But let's go ahead and roll this video here real quick, Gabe. All right, so keep in mind, at that point, when Trump's plane flies overhead, DeSantis is literally speaking to the crowd. All right, so that was timed perfectly. And I tend to believe Trump had to coordinate with people on the ground to make that happen. Governor Kim Reynolds says she's going to stay neutral in the primary, at least for now, and as well she should. Honestly, I don't know if you guys know this, but all Republicans take an oath to stay neutral. Now, they don't always do it, and obviously that isn't happening here. But Republicans are supposed to remain neutral in primary fights. With so much being at stake, it's harder and harder to do, but that is what they are supposed to do. Next, I want to show you another video, and we're going back to back to back here. This video is part of Jackson's 5, and I just want to talk to you about not just the meaning. I said the meaning. I think in the intro, I think that was the wrong word to say. The consequences of the next video that you're getting ready to see. Let me just read. Let me pull it up and read the summary before you watch the video. This is a Los Angeles Nordstrom's. Now, what you're starting to see in California, that crime is spreading. And it's not like, and I'm talking specifically about these looting crimes. They started off in the northern, the Bay Area, with Oakland, San Francisco, so on, etc. But they're going to be hitting Los Angeles more and more because you have a weak mayor and Karen Bass. Listen, as long as the people out there continue to vote Democrat, the place is just going to go to hell with gasoline draws on. And sadly, it's going to get worse and worse and worse. Let me find this. Where's with... Okay, I wrote some notes down. I just want to make sure that I find this here. All right, so you got a mob of looters that in Los Angeles that ransacked a Nordstrom. Here's the summary from KTLA. Video captured a mob of thieves swarming a Nordstrom in Canoga Park as they cleared out the store during a destructive robbery on Saturday. Chaos ensued as a large group of masked thieves clad in dark clothing scrambled around the store, grabbing armfuls of designer clothing, purses, accessories, and more. Police said anywhere between 20 to 50 suspects are believed to be involved. The thieves were seen violently grabbing whatever merchandise they could carry, with many seen ripping the security devices attached to designer purses and luggage items. Store shelves and display racks were destroyed, knocked over, and littered across the floor, along with a ton of fallen merchandise. At one point, a security guard who tried to intervene was attacked with a chemical spray. And so anyway, I'll let you watch the video and I will give my opinion on the video. And I'll just remind you, it's so gut wrenching to say this. This is really weird, but I used to be part-time, all right, for a short period of time in my life. This was BC, before Christ, all right? But I used to be a thief. And this is what I used to do. I used to go into high retail stores. I would take very high-end clothing with a partner of mine, and we would resell them for cash. And that was pure profit. I don't say that to boast, all right? I'm very ashamed of it. Sometimes when I think about it, I'm like, I cannot believe I did that. I'm so far removed from that lifestyle that I can't even imagine doing that today. I can't even imagine thinking like that. But before, there go I, but by the grace of God. But at one point in time, I was there. But as I grew in my faith and I started learning more about money, I'm going to talk to you about the real ramifications that people are going to be seeing in California and why things are going to get much worse. So let's roll the video here, Gabe. There you saw it. They were just completely ransacking the place, destroying, not just taking the merchandise, but just destroying the place, ransacking, destroying the shelves, throwing things over, all this kind of stuff. And obviously the goal was to get in and get out as quickly as possible. So I know that's what they were doing. But I want to talk to you about the ramifications of this and why I believe that things are going to get a lot worse, not just in California, but in the city of Los Angeles. Things are going to get very bad. If you don't think they're bad now, or if you think they're bad now, they're going to get worse. This is a result, no doubt, of Democrats being soft on criminals that vote Democrat. I want you to understand that. They're not soft on, I doubt that they'd be soft on white people. I doubt that they'd be soft on Republicans. Look at what they're doing with the J6 political prisoners. But they're going to be soft on people that they believe vote Democrat and people that buy into the narrative that America is systemically racist. And so this is what you should be going out to do. Well, there's several problems with this soft on Democratic crime mentality. And one of them is this, right? So you have these designers, you have these employees that work hard to get their merchandise in the store. Well, they may not ship their merchandise to the store anymore. They may not sell in larger stores like that. They may have to cut out jobs. It's also going to raise the prices for everybody because now these stores are going to have to pay for better security, right? They're going to have to pay for, maybe housing these things and like super safe steel type traps. The stores are going to have to pay more money, which means they're probably not going to be able to afford as many workers. Prices are going to rise for you because even though those people are stealing those things, the people, the makers, the stores, they have to make up the money somehow. How do they do that? They raise prices. So things become more expensive for everybody, and including these people who are stealing right now, but may pay for stuff at a later time. And then you got to start wondering who's going to want to do business with any of these locations if their stuff is just going to be robbed. I mean, maybe at some point they're just going to say, and I think I already mentioned this, but they're just going to say, I'm not putting my material there. I'm not going to do it. That means that Nordstrom's goes out of business. Those employees get axed. There's all types of ramifications, high prices, fewer employees, walking around like you're in a prison. And it's only going to get worse. As long as California keeps voting Democrat, it's going to get worse because eventually that crime is going to expand somewhere else. When Nordstrom's figures it out and either shutters their doors completely or they have to build steel traps to house their clothing and merchandise and stuff like that, who do these people go to next? Maybe a mom and pop small store nearby or in the area? Drive them out of business because they don't have the type of resources that a Nordstrom would have or Nordstrom's would have. It's going to get worse. This is why you should never, ever, ever, ever vote Democrat. And I don't say that as a Republican fan. Quite frankly, I think the Republican Party stinks right now. but they're still so much better than the Democrat Party. If you vote Democrat, you are asking for more crime. You are asking for more poverty. You are asking for more racial divisiveness. There is no reason to vote Democrat. There is none whatsoever. All they do is try to keep people mad and angry and divide people, keep people poor so that they can keep their jobs in Washington, D.C. and in state capitals or on city commissions and so on, etc. That's all they want. All they want is power. They have no intention of helping anybody out. First off, government can't help you out. Government can't change your mentality and make you successful. All government can do is make you dependent. And that's what the left wants. So be wary of that. And sadly, that's my hometown. That's my home state, Los Angeles, California. It's going to get worse. It is going to get worse. As long as Democrats are in charge, I don't know what it's going to take for people to finally rise up and say, nah, screw this. We're voting Republican. But Democrats keep that narrative. Republicans are racist, xenophobic, and they get a bunch of numbskulls that don't know any better, that just vote out of frustration, vote for, because they want a virtue signal or because they don't know God, they don't go to church. And so the Democrat Party becomes their church and left-wing values become their values. And so they vote for that because those are their values. All right, let me move on to this because I want to hit the bigger story of the day. Right now, the death tolls for the Maui wildfires has hit 93. They expect that number to rise. Sadly, some of the flames were so intense. Some of the bodies that they're discovering, are just breaking into pieces. They're not even sure that they can identify them. They've just been incinerated. It's absolutely insane. Here's a story that is really, really sad. The U.S. sees the highest number of suicides in 2022. And sadly, I think this number will continue to increase. And this is where churches need to come in. They need to give people more hope. They need to talk about Jesus and stop talking about BLM and all this kind of stuff. All the cultural crap that the left has been spewing. The church needs to talk about Jesus. The church needs to talk about hope. The church needs to talk about living right, acting right, voting right, giving people hope, letting everybody know that they're of value to the Lord Jesus Christ, regardless of skin color. Here's from the New York Post. About 49,500 people took their own lives last year in the U.S. This is the highest number ever. This is according to new government data posted Thursday, at least since they've been recording this. They say ever, but I'm assuming this is correct. The CDC, which posted the numbers, has not yet calculated a suicide rate for the year, but available data suggests suicides are more common in the U.S. than at any time since World War II. I think the CDC is in part to blame for this with all of their COVID disinformation. And I am intentionally saying disinformation that ruined people's lives. Experts caution that suicide is complicated and that recent increases might be driven by a range of factors, including higher rates of depression and limited availability of mental health services. That's why, I had a caller when I was in on Officer Tatum last week, and Biden made this point that, what did he say? Mental health is like breaking an arm or a leg. And frankly, it flew right past me. We were trying to get in as many calls as possible at the time. And what he was trying to say, he was actually right in saying that you want mental health to be, you want people that struggle with mental health issues, let me put it that way, to feel like they can speak out and go to a doctor or see someone, just as easily as someone that has broken an arm or leg. That's what he meant by it. Joe Biden didn't frame it correctly, obviously, but that is what he meant by it. And I kind of laughed and chuckled at that. Forgive me. That's not what I should have done. If you struggle with mental health issues, go out and see somebody. All right. Or talk to somebody. Don't be alone. And that your life is valuable. Every life is valuable. God created you for a purpose. You need to know that. And it's sad what the left is doing, because I'm going to share with you some of the people that are committing suicide the most. And I think you'll understand why. It says here, I'm sorry. Getting back to the CD. So we're seeing the highest number since World War II. Experts caution that suicide is complicated and that recent increases might be driven by a range of factors, including higher rates of depression and limited availability of mental health services. U.S. suicides steadily rose from the early 2000s until 2018. So from 2000 to 2018, the numbers were increasingly, slowly but surely getting worse. When the national rate hit its highest level since 1941, that year saw about 48,300 suicide deaths, or 14.2% for every, or 14.2, I'm sorry, for every 100,000 Americans. Last year, however, according to the new data, the number jumped by more than 1,000 to 49,449, about a 3% increase versus the year before. The largest increases were seen in older adults. Deaths rose nearly 7% in older adults. Deaths rose nearly 7% in people's ages 45 to 64. And I wonder, a lot of people may have lost some of their retirement during the COVID lockdowns. Listen to this: more than 8% in people 65 and older. White men in particular have very high rates, according to the CDC. White men are being told that they're worthless, that they're useless, that they're nothing but racists. They're irredeemable. I mean, we live in this. To me, this is very alarming. This is a sign that as a church, we have to get ourselves in gear to make sure, that includes me, I'm speaking to myself, to make sure that every individual, regardless of their political affiliation, all right, regardless of their skin color, knows that they are designed and created by God. And if they take their life, they will answer to a higher power. So use your life now in the way that God wants you to use your life. Stop telling people that they can be different sexes and all this kind of nonsense when they can't be. Tell them that God created them just the way they're perfect, just the way they are. I mean, that isn't to say, right? I'm not talking about, you may need to drop a few pounds or something like that, but God in your brain and everything else that he created, all right? You're good. You're good. Utilize the strengths that God has given you. So I just thought that was very important to talk about. So we've covered some of the Iowa state fairs. Oh, let me just cover this, and then I'll move on and just share with you real quickly. Oh, by the way, today's show is also brought to you by MyPillow.com. Mike Lindell at MyPillow, they're celebrating their 20-year anniversary. Over 80 million MyPillows that have been sold. You can go out and get a queen size MyPillow for just $19.98, marked down from $69.98. See, you don't even have to go loot a Nordstrom. You don't have to do anything like that, all right, to get a deal. Go to MyPillow.com, click on the radio podcast square at the top of the page. Enter my name, Carl, C-A-R-L. Enter my name, Carl, C-A-R-L, or give them a call, 800-858-0263. And by the way, there are deep discounts right now at MyPillow.com on everything that they have to offer. So right now, go to, again, MyPillow.com, radio podcast square, enter my name, C-A-R-L, or give them a call, 800-858-0263. They got discounts on bed sheets, mattress toppers, pet beds, mattresses, the My Slippers, so much more. And remember, you're talking about American-made products, you're talking about American jobs, and you're talking about a good night's rest. All of the products come with a 10-year warranty and a 60-day money-back guarantee. You cannot beat that with a bat. Here's some good news real quick. Arizona public universities no longer request that applicants make diversity statements on their applications. So little by little, we're winning back the culture. The fight that we're in is going to be a generational fight. Guys, I'm sorry, we're not going to win back the United States of America with one election. We've got to win several, and we've got to win people's hearts back to God. All right, that is the only way we are going to restore America. It's not going to be 4 years. It's got to be a generation, and it's got to be a generation of people bringing people back to God. Here's the last thing I'll share with you. The Biden administration is looking to build housing on the southern border to hold illegal immigrants. Do you think do you think they ever intend to send these illegals back? No, I think not. And I don't think Republicans are doing much either to make sure they get back. Okay, now let me get to the nitty gritty. Let me share this with you. I'm sorry it took so long in that, but some of these stories were so very important. And I wanted to get you up to speed on some of the things, the bigger stories that happened, in Iowa. I don't think anybody else made a major dent in Iowa. I think Vivek Ramaswamy went viral for rapping or something like that. I don't know that the Iowa State Fair changed anything, is what I'm saying. I want to talk about this sham special counsel for a few minutes. And we all know that that's what it is, but I want to go into a little bit of detail here. A gentleman by the name of Coley Stimson and also Hans von Spakovsky, attorneys at the Heritage Foundation, wrote about this and broke it down really simple, like for all of us to be able to understand. So I just want to go through this with you so that you understand why this latest special counsel is a complete and utter sham. All right. So first off, you had Merrick Garland, AG Merrick Garland, announced that he was appointing a special counsel to handle the Hunter Biden case. Here's the problem. And you probably see a lot of people on the left are actually kind of like, oh my God, what's happening here? This is, because now they're going to be forced to, this is one positive about it. I do believe that since Hunter Biden is now the focus of a special counsel, it'll be a lot harder for the mainstream media, basically the DNC press, the Democrat press, to avoid talking about this. But the special counsel gives them cover. All right, here's what the two gentlemen from Heritage write. The problem with hiring David Weiss is the one that has been hired as the special counsel. David Weiss was the prosecutor in the sweetheart plea deal. All right, so they say not only is Weiss the same controversial federal prosecutor who botched the investigation of Hunter so far, but the written rules governing special counsels calls for the AG, that would be Merrick Garland, to appoint, quote, an outside special counsel, close quote, meaning that the special counsel shouldn't be somebody that works for the federal government. This guy works under the authority of Merrick Garland, and Merrick Garland, we know, is corrupt as all get out. This is insane. The special counsel should not be working for the DOJ. That alone lets you know that this is a sham impeachment. So David Weiss has already proven, the U.S. attorney for Delaware, that he's corrupt or incompetent. So this is another attempt to basically slow walk yet another prosecution of Hunter Biden. Now, why do I say this? Well, Hans von Spakovsky and Coley Stimson write, this is the same Weiss who gave Hunter the sweetheart deal of the century, one that would have allowed Hunter to walk away almost scot-free with no jail time for serious tax evasion and a violation of federal gun laws. You try and get away with that. It would never happen. You've even had rappers and stars, come out and say, wait a minute, people that have actually served time in jail for less money. Wesley Snipes. You had, I forget, a couple rappers that came out, spent some time in jail for lesser charges. Also, they say whose officer refused to approve a search warrant for the president's guest house, or whose office did. So David Weiss's office, the U.S. attorney for Delaware, that gave Hunter Biden a sweetheart deal, is also the same office that refused to approve a search warrant for Biden's guest house where Hunter Biden was living. And presumably there was a lot of evidence there regarding Joe Biden's own material or documents that he was storing at his mansion on the beach. Remember, he had documents behind his classic Corvette. They raided Trump for Mar-a-Lago, yet they went soft on Joe Biden. And make no mistake about it, this is Joe Biden's business. Nobody's going to hire a crackhead to deal with all of this money. So this was influence peddling, no doubt. He also goes on to say, or the gentleman from Heritage, Weiss's office also tipped off Biden's lawyer, listen to this, that the IRS agents intended to search his storage unit, giving them the time to move any potential evidence. So Weiss's office tipped off Hunter Biden's lawyer. This guy is corrupt as they come. Now, what you hear in the media, well, this is a Trump appointee. Yeah, somebody said, hey, listen, Trump, appoint this guy. He's solid, so on, etc. He's not solid. I don't think Trump could have known that. But the guy just simply isn't solid. And he also worked under other presidents. So Trump went into office assuming that these people were honest, and they're just not honest. Now, here's a couple of good questions that the Heritage Foundation asked. Why have no charges been filed against Hunter under the Foreign Agent Registration Act for his blatant violation of the federal law? Number two, what kind of federal prosecutor ever would agree to a plea agreement on some charges while supposedly still, quote unquote, investigating the defendant for other offenses? Let's take these on. Why have no charges been filed against Hunter under the Foreign Agent Registration Act? Because they don't want to. Because they all know that the big guy was running the show. And if they cross the big guy, their lives will be totally ruined. That's what they know. They all know what's going on in Washington, D.C. We all know they can't gaslight us. We all know the Bidens are lying. We all know that Joe Biden leveraged his position as vice president to literally sell out the United States of America using his crackhead son. And then what kind of federal prosecutor ever would agree to a plea agreement on some charges while supposedly still a prosecutor that wants Joe Biden to get away with his crimes. In sworn Senate testimony, Garland obviously lied when he told the Senate, or when he claimed that Weiss, and I quote, had the full authority to make those kinds of referrals that you are talking about or bring cases in other jurisdictions if he feels that it's necessary. So basically, Garland was telling the Senate, hey, listen, this guy that gave Hunter Biden the sweetheart deal, he was free to do whatever he wanted. I gave him all authority to do whatever he wanted. But that isn't true. Garland even added, I will assure that if he does, he will be able to do that. So I guess investigate or go wherever he wants to go. But here are two more questions that the Heritage Foundation follows up with. If Garland's testimony was true or was truthful, and Weiss had all the authority he needed to investigate and prosecute Hunter Biden, then why appoint Weiss as a special counsel 5 months later? Let's read that again. If Garland's testimony was truthful and Weiss had all the authority he needed to investigate and prosecute Hunter Biden, all the power that he needed, then why appoint him now? What's changed? I tell you what's changed. That judge that blew up the sweetheart deal. And then the Biden administration and the Democrat Party said, oh, crap, what do we do now? We thought she was going to play along. But this judge, I believe her name was Moriaka or something like that. I forget it, to be honest with you. She didn't play along. She was not duped. She wasn't going to go down with the ship. Now, also remember this. Weiss already slow-walked a couple of cases back in the past. So he's the same guy that slow-walked a serious tax case against Hunter Biden and allowed an agreement with his attorneys to expire, making it impossible to prosecute Hunter for failing to pay his income taxes in 2014 and 2015. So Weiss already slow-walked a massive tax evasion case against Hunter Biden from 2014 and 2015, when this guy was pulling in millions working for his daddy. All right. Pretty amazing. Also, the corruption goes on. Also, Weiss told IRS whistleblowers Gary Shapley and Joseph Ziegler, two credible guys. You guys remember that Joseph Ziegler was the gay guy that came out and was just like, listen, this is about doing the right thing. This is about applying the rule of law equally, you know? And so said he had gone through a rough time because he is a Democrat, but he wanted the law to be applied equally. So you had, again, Gary Shapley and Joseph Ziegler and several others during an October 7th meeting in the U.S. Delaware in the Delaware U.S. Attorney's Office that he was, quote, this is what Weiss said, not the deciding official on whether charges are filed, close quote, against Hunter Biden. So he wasn't the deciding official. He had no power, he claimed. So you have Merrick Garland saying, yeah, he had all the power that he needed. You have Weiss contradicting that testimony, saying he was not was not the deciding official on whether charges are filed. But again, Merrick Garland is saying he has all this power, but I'm going to give him the power that he really needs 5 months later. You see how this stuff is not adding up? In their testimonies, both Shapley and Ziegler said Weiss told those at the meeting at his office, including Shapley and Ziegler, that he tried to bring cases against Hunter in the District of Columbia in D.C. and California, but that fellow U.S. attorneys in those jurisdictions, quote, would not allow him to charge. So if that's true, that means that Merrick Garland had already said that, hey, this case isn't going anywhere. Now, here's another doozy, our kicker from the whistleblowers. He had asked, quote, according to the whistleblowers, Weiss had asked the main justice, quote unquote, for special counsel status and was denied. Or he had asked main justice. He wanted to be the main guy, right? Basically a special counsel. And he was denied. He was denied. So who's lying? Was Weiss lying to them? Was he telling his team this simply because he didn't have the stomach to go after Hunter Biden? This is what the Heritage people write. Will a change of Weiss's title somehow make him competent all of a sudden? Of course not. Of course not. Don't let these people blow smoke up your butt. We all know that we're being gaslit here. Also, keep in mind that neither Weiss or Garland have testified under oath to refute the claims of the whistleblowers. So they can continue to lie and obfuscate and do all this kind of stuff, but they've never gone on oath to refute the claims of the whistleblowers because they can't, because they're lying. We all know it. We all know it. With that sneezely little Merrick Garland. Can't stand that fool. How he sounds. I go, can't stand that fool. So again, why is Weiss choosing Garland as a special counsel again, if supposedly, or why is Garland choosing Weiss as a special counsel if supposedly he's given Weiss in the past all of the power that he needed to look into Hunter Biden? It's astonishing. The Heritage Foundation goes on to write, hundreds of qualified former U.S. attorneys or retired federal judges or other distinguished lawyers could have stepped into the role of special counsel and conducted an impartial, thorough investigation and prosecution. This is a case that takes a few months, not several years. 2014, 2015, they didn't prosecute those years. You have 8 years thereafter. They've done nothing. This is a case that takes months, not years, to prosecute. And here's the bottom line. According to the Heritage, according to Hans von Spakovsky and Coley Stimson of the Heritage Foundation, they say the facts here, much of which have been gathered by the DOJ and the House investigators, aren't terribly difficult. Hunter Biden got money from entities abroad. That includes China. That includes Ukraine. That includes Russia. We know that includes Kazakhstan. These are just some of the places that we know about. While his father was VP, he refused or failed to pay taxes on that income that he earned from being working for his dad, the big boss, a big guy. He didn't register as a foreign agent at the time. You guys remember what's his name? What's the big Trump guy that went down? They tried to get Paul Manafort. All right. He went down for not registering as a foreign agent. Then here we go. These people get away scot-free. And Hunter lied on a federal form when he applied for a handgun. He gets to walk away scot-free. So they write, any experienced former prosecutor could handle that case and follow the facts wherever they lead. This case could have been wrapped up years ago. And therein lies the rub. By violating the stated requirements for a special counsel and appointing Weiss, Garland guaranteed that the quote-unquote investigation of Hunter will be one in name only. The facts, all of them, will never come to light. That's it. This special counsel has been appointed to hide the evidence, not to expose the evidence. That's all you need to know. This case, as they said, should have been wrapped up years ago. Any experienced prosecutor could handle this case. They're trying to hide evidence. They're not trying to bring it to light. Guys, listen, I appreciate you tuning in to this edition of the Carl Jackson Show podcast. Again, please subscribe to the podcast, guys. We would really appreciate it everywhere you go to get your podcast. We're on Rumble. We're on YouTube. So subscribe, rate, and review there. Also, if you subscribe there, you'll get the podcast right to your inbox. We would certainly appreciate that. We're on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, True Social, Getter at the Carl Jackson Show is where you can go to find us. I would certainly appreciate that. And I think that's it, right? All things social media at the Carl Jackson Show. And until next time, do not grow weary doing good. God bless you all.